Welcome to the last August edition of the PFF Forecast. I'm George. I'm joined by Eric. Eric has a lot of money right now riding on the Reds, who are in extra innings. We promise not to cover that game. That's a promise. We're going to keep it. But we have a lot of football to talk about. We have not spoken since Jimmy Jesus Garoppolo has been re-signed by the 49ers. They also cut Trey Sermon. That's pretty funny. The Raiders cut Alex Leatherwood. That's very funny. The Vikings once laughed at the Eagles for drafting Jalen Reagor. They just traded for him. That's pretty funny. It's going to be a great podcast. Let's rock. So where do you want to start here? Because it can't be the Reds. We're going to get some random like size of relief or brother in Christ or whatever the hell it is when they ultimately lose.
Can you pause for a sec? My intern Tej Seth.
Mm-hmm. That's a shirt.
That says bet.
That's a shirt. That's what that is.
It says, gotta love my brother in Christ, which to be honest, you do. You know, if you're one of the members of the printing press,
you almost slipped there. Yeah, members of the press, esteemed members of the press, welcome. If you're new to this podcast, welcome. We used to call all of the listeners the syndicate. It was kind of a bit about making fun of betting, but also like that we're all in this together. We have since abandoned that. We for reasons that I won't go into now, but there is a very good reason, and we are now the printing press. So you're an esteemed member of the press for joining. If you like the podcast, please give it a 5-star review. Share it with your friends. It's a good way to help them get ready for the NFL season. We are a week away from Christmas Eve. We're recording this on a Wednesday evening. There is no better feeling. I mean, the Saturday night before Sunday is amazing. The Wednesday before the first Thursday night game is amazing. It's going to be fantastic. By the way, there's a new PFF app. I know I'm starting with a bunch of stuff, but like new PFF app, best way to consume our content, Eric's content, all the other content. Great new betting experience and fantasy experience. If you have a fantasy draft in the next couple of days and you don't have any time to prepare, or you did prepare, but your preparation stunk, go download the app. You can get a PFF draft along strategy from our experts right there, customized to your draft pick. So go download it. Player props and betting, of course, will be in there as well, and a content feed for all of you journos out there. Let's start with Jimmy G. Why not? So let me give everyone a timeline. I'm sitting here working, minding my own business, having a day, and I get like 6 text messages in about 2 minutes. The only one that I looked at was yours, because I figured if there was anything that was actually urgent, you were going to let me know. And you didn't even say like what happened. You just said like something like, "Oh my God," or something like that. And I immediately, I had a premonition that it had something to do with the Niners. So Jimmy G coming back to San Francisco. I found that out. I was mortified. The first thing that I saw in one of our Slack chats was Trey Lance over under 10 starts. You then look at Jimmy G's contract. Yeah, he's getting $6.5 million, so a huge pay cut. $6.5 million fully guaranteed. If he plays, it could go up to $16 million. There's still the no trade clause and a no tag clause. So Jimmy will be a free agent next season, or can kind of pick his team. Right. But really what this does is it makes him tradeable, right? I mean, this is, if you're a team that loses a quarterback, you weren't going to go pick up Jimmy G, who was going to cost you, a top 10 quarterback salary. You're not going to do that. But now with a salary that's obviously very cheap for a starting quarterback, you would consider going and trading for him. Am I dumb, or is that all there is to this?
Yeah, I think this is one of those where Jimmy G didn't really have much of a market. They played musical chairs at quarterback during the off season, but basically because of Jimmy G's injury, the music turned off and Jimmy G was the one standing up, right? And
Mhm.
that's how it went. And I think John Lynch said as much. And to the degree that John Lynch is in charge, I believe him. And he basically said, look, like, it was nice to give Jimmy G an option to go to another team, but since he doesn't have that option, let's give him the chance to be the backup quarterback for the 49ers. It's kind of weird, right? Like, we don't see in the NFL much a quarterback who was the starter come into the next year as the backup, but that's what you're getting in San Fran. And I think it's probably the best case scenario for everybody involved, just because you don't really have a chance to move Jimmy G for much. And you don't really want to cut him because he has value. He's obviously a good football player, not a great football player, but a good one. And that's kind of what you're getting with the Niners right now, right? And unfortunately, like, noise begets situations with players that are embarrassing, but it's not really the doing of the team that Jimmy G had that shoulder injury, right? If Jimmy G doesn't have the shoulder injury, he's in Indianapolis, or he's in Minnesota, or he's in Cleveland, right? I mean, like, that's really the name of the game. He's in Atlanta, right? Like, he's for a team that had a quarterback opening that was closed off by the time Jimmy G got healthy, right?
Yeah, and I think here's the thing about Jimmy G is that, so last year, I think he had to end up with a 73 PFF grade, 18th. I think the ceiling that we've seen for him is maybe 12-ish. But the assumption is that ceiling that he gets to is only because of Kyle Shanahan's system. Has
Right.
nothing to do with him as a player. And so, a team is not going to go take a shot. You're not paying a guy his money for a ceiling that is like 20th, right? If that's really what it is without Kyle Shanahan. So, it kind of all makes sense. What I do want to maybe push back on a little bit with that narrative, though, is because you've mentioned this a couple of times. So he does an excellent job of running what's called.
Yeah.
And to a certain degree, like, that is really valuable if you have a good offense. If you're a bad offense, then you need, Patrick Mahomes out there to try and bail you out. That's not what Jimmy G is going to be. But in a good offense, like, is it wrong to downgrade Jimmy G for Kyle Shanahan's offense? Or is it actually good to say, hey, he's executed this offense? They've been a really good offense. They've made it very far in the playoffs with him executing that offense. By the way, last year with half a body. Like, I don't know, maybe we're too low on Jimmy G.
I think it's okay to say, and this isn't just universal to Jimmy G. I think it's like among a lot of players in this league, like, Jimmy G has more utility to the 49ers than he has on any other team, right? He might have some residual utility to a team like the Packers, or a team that runs that Shanahan system, like, the Falcons or something like that, like a more play action-y type of role. But there's, I think, a reasonable case to make that Jimmy G is better off being on the 49ers than anybody else. Now, the problem is Trey Lance is in his way, but, as a backup, he's probably going to be the best version of himself with Kyle Shanahan. I don't think that's negative. I think that's just a reasonable take on the quarterback himself, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think that's fair. Where does he end up?
Well, I think it's impossible to predict who gets injured, but he ends up on the team whose quarterback gets the most injured this year, right? I mean, he has a no trade clause so he can waive it. If the Niners want to trade him to freaking Chicago in week 5, he can say, fuck you. That's, I think, a good part about this. I think that's a respect part of this, right? Where they respect Jimmy G for what he's done, which is take the team to 2 NFC title games and, be a pretty damn good quarterback. But that's kind of where I'm at, where I think he gets, he gets a respect here of being able to come back to San Francisco, be a backup, make a lot of money, but also, have an opportunity to take a trade if he gets it, make a lot of money, veto any trade that's bad, And so if Kirk gets hurt in Minnesota, or Patrick Mahomes, God forbid, gets hurt in Kansas City, like I think there's a number of places where he can go and keep the thing on the tracks for a couple weeks, and the Niners would get a mid-round pick for that. And that, at this point in time hasn't been available to them. But in this realm, this is probably gives the Niners the cap space they need and gives them the opportunity to unload Jimmy G during the season to a team that's desperate enough to take him, because that's really going to be the only team that is going to really want him at this point.
Okay. Let me put you in a position for a few teams here. You are the Minnesota Vikings. Kirk Cousins, despite his father's best efforts to pray away the evil spirits.
Pray away anything. I mean, specifically.
Yeah, right. His dad's currently working on putting back the statues of slave traders,
soldiers that have long been fallen.
Yeah, or slave owners. Same thing. So Kirk Cousins goes down week 1, Green Bay, Rashawn Gary, your boy, takes his knee out. You trading for Jimmy G?
Yeah. I mean, the Vikings, like we'll talk about this in a second, but they traded a conditional 4th and 7th for Jalen Reagor. Like they're clearly like in a position where they care. Maybe they don't. It depends upon the price, right? Like it depends upon what people are bidding. If you're the Vikings, let's say you lose by 30 to Green Bay in week 1, maybe you just pack it in and play Nick Mullins the whole year or whatever the hell. But maybe you want to win and you want to trade Jimmy G, and like that's where the Niners right now could get nothing for Jimmy G by letting him go, or get something for him in a trade. And I think that's what they're buying into now. The Jets were the one great oasis for them. It ultimately didn't end up being an injury that cost Zach Wilson the season. So, that was great for the Jets, bad for the Niners. But if another quarterback loses the season to an injury, Jimmy G's there.
Okay. So the Vikings are a good one. Let's go to what's another fun one? Okay. No one wants to hear this, but Tom Brady goes down. You're the Tampa Bay Bucks. Are you trading for Jimmy G?
Yes. I mean, that team is not long-term. That team is a short-term team. You trade for Jimmy G. Of course you do. Yeah.
Okay. What's the team that shouldn't trade for Jimmy G?
Oh, I got this. I have this written down somewhere at the office today. Your great friends, David Sofaro, Brad Spielberg, and I came up with the unwatchable teams of the NFL.
Oh, let's do
Any
this.
team that ends up on this list should not trade for Jimmy G.
Okay.
And I'm sort of speaking out of both sides of my mouth here, but I think the Jets shouldn't trade for Jimmy G.
Okay.
I think the Texans shouldn't trade for Jimmy G. I think the Chicago Bears shouldn't trade for Jimmy G. I think the Washington Commanders shouldn't trade for Jimmy G.
Oh, your Commanders.
I know. The Seahawks should definitely not trade for Jimmy G. They're going to be horrid. Trying to think of the other teams. The South. Oh, Carolina, Atlanta should not trade for Jimmy G. They're going to be bad. And I think that's it. But it's a decent list of teams that should just tank if they suck. If you're going to suck. That's kind of my point of the NFL this year. It's like, and that I think is what the road bump that the Niners came into. It's like the Seahawks aren't giving you anything for Jimmy G. Like they're just embracing the suck this year. Mm-hmm. The Falcons, same thing. The Panthers got, Baker Mayfield. That's semi embracing the suck. The Jets suck. The Texans, that's their freaking identity, is being bad at football. Everything else is sort of like difficult to make any sort of case for Jimmy G, isn't it?
I think so. I agree with that list. I was trying to think if there's a team right now that should take a shot given the mediocrity they have at quarterback. Mm-hmm. So a couple that come to mind, and I'm using mediocrity as like just a player that's not a surefire stud, right? Mm-hmm. The Dolphins. Could the Dolphins compete with Jimmy G over Tua?
Sure, but they have Teddy Bridgewater, right? Like they have Theo at quarterback.
Stop.
But like, is Teddy Bridgewater? You you can split hairs here, but Teddy Bridgewater's in the same equivalence class as Jimmy G, right?
No. Don't
Come
you dare.
on.
Don't you dare. The Teddy Bridgewater love is just pathetic.
It's not even love. It's just like an acknowledgement that he's a halfway, like,
The dude throws the ball
whatever
more than
quarterback.
10 yards down the field, and it looks like the ball's been shot by a.
I'm sorry, Jimmy
a
G
duck.
look. I mean, what is
It's
Jimmy
better
G
than
look like?
Teddy
Jeff George
Bridgewater.
out there?
Better than Teddy Bridgewater.
I mean, that's where we disagree. But again, this is a what the kids would call.
Who would
a
you
mid-off.
rather? Oh,
This is a mid-off, right?
I need to hear. Yeah, it's a knit off. I need to hear from the printing press who they'd prefer, Jimmy G or Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater has not sniffed a meaningful snap in the NFL.
Okay, but I mean, Jimmy G only has because he's been endowed with a great football team next to him, right? Like, if that Niners team isn't an all-time great talent team, like, he sucks, right? Like, I'm not saying Jimmy G sucks. I'm just saying he's in the same.
But I'm not talking about only the playoff games or the Super Bowl. I mean, he has played in playoff games, but like the games that he's played in that have actually mattered for a team that was trying to compete, to go to the playoffs is what I'm talking about. Okay, the Saints are another interesting one. Like,
but the Saints are good, man. The Saints are good, and their quarterback is better than Jimmy G.
I agree that Jameis is better than Jimmy G, but like, there's a lot of variance there. You never know.
Well, here's the question: if Jameis gets hurt, Dalton's not as good as Jimmy G, but is he good? Is the difference between Jimmy G and Dalton big enough to give up a draft pick for?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
Dalton
I'll concede that Dalton's a solid step below the Bridgewaters and the Jimmy G's of the world, but like, is it worth a draft pick?
That's fair. The Colts should trade for him right now.
No, Matt Ryan is what he is. Like, you've made the commitment to Matt Ryan. Like, you're either playing Matt Ryan through thick and thin or you're not, but you are, so you are, right? Like, that's the Colts are down this road, right? The Colts are in Chris Ballard is getting fired or Matt Ryan's good sort of like conundrum, right?
I'm bringing in Jimmy G and I'm playing the hot hand. Like, I'm literally the Colts are not that, like, they're in a really, really bad division. If the Colts were in a halfway decent division, like, they would not be sniffing the playoffs here, in my opinion. Okay, let's stop with the Jimmy G stuff for a second. Let's quickly touch on the other Niners news, which is that Trey Sermon got cut.
Love that.
So here's the funny thing. This is a tweet from our very own Ari Meirav, who is a good follow at this juncture of the season, so that you can keep up with all the different news that is going on in the NFL. Here are a list of running backs that Kyle Shanahan has picked up. Trey Sermon, he traded up in the third for him. He was cut after a year. Joe Williams, he was traded up for in the fourth. He was cut after a year. Jerick McKinnon was paid $30 million. Tevin Coleman was paid $10 million. That combination of those guys is like one game's worth of Raheem Mostert, who is one of the successful quarterbacks that he's had who was undrafted. Matt Breida, also undrafted. Jeff Wilson, still on the team, also undrafted. And Eli Mitchell, who's going to start this year, is a sixth rounder. So it's nice that Kyle Shanahan is just reinforcing by overpaying certain running backs what his dad established firmly, which is that running backs are running backs and they just don't matter that much.
They just are. Right? Yeah. They just exist. Like, my issue is, and you're
and explain that for anyone that's new here, like, oh, these fucking losers hate running backs. No, we don't hate running backs at all.
And in fact, I think there are too many good running backs in the world. That's the problem, right? Like, The problem is that the way the NFL works, and as brilliant as Kyle Shanahan is, the difference in production that, like, we talk about these things in mathematics, right? Like, there are things called contractions, right? Where you stuff into a mathematical object a difference between two things, and what comes out is either bigger or smaller than the difference you stuffed into the mathematical object, right? In the NFL, if you stuff into the offensive production function a small difference between quarterbacks, so you take Kirk Cousins, you take Patrick Mahomes, the outcome difference is sizable compared to those two differences, right?
Look what you did there.
The talent difference, my brother in Christ, between Kirk Cousins and Patrick Mahomes is not actually that big, but the outcome difference between having Kirk Cousins as your quarterback and Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback is immense.
It's so nice of you to choose both of your girlfriends.
The difference, if you stuff into a production function the best running back in the NFL and the worst running back in the NFL, that difference in talent is relatively sizable. The difference in production that comes out of that production function is small. That's all it is, right? Like that's all it is. You can tell me that Javonte Williams is a lot better than freaking Michael Carter, but Javonte Williams and Michael Carter have essentially the same outcomes, right? Like plus or minus a little bit. And that's the whole thesis behind running backs don't matter. We don't say running backs don't matter. We mean you think that Breece Hall is this amazing running back and you trade up for him and you get him 5 picks ahead of Kenneth Walker. The difference between him and Kenneth Walker is small in terms of output. If you take Elijah Mitchell, who's a 6th-round pick, and Trey Sermon, who's a trade up for a 3rd-round pick, that talent difference is sizable, right? Prior. The outcome between those two players is at best minimal, if not reversed in the case of the 49ers. And that's the whole point of running backs don't matter. If I tell you, look, if I draft Trevor Lawrence in round 1 at pick 1, and I draft Joe Schmo Schmuck quarterback round 2, pick 2, that difference in inputs is sizable. The difference in output on average is even bigger. Like that's the difference between running backs and positions that matter, like quarterbacks.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. We should have a list of things. As you were saying that, I was thinking about when Gettleman did the typing on the keyboard.
Love that.
Yeah, remember that? That was really great. Come back here for Saquon. Saquon's going to prove Dave Gettleman right this year.
Love that.
But like when some like what are the trigger phrases when a coach or GM says something that you immediately go, oh shit.
Yeah.
This guy doesn't get it. So like one of them is like, well, something along the lines of like this running back's going to make a huge difference for us, right? That's one thing. What are some other phrases that I have one on top of my head right now?
So can we pause? So our colleague, or our friend, Kwesi Adafo-Mensah, the general manager of the Minnesota Vikings, somebody who we've had numerous broken bread with, have talked with before. He just traded in the last 2 days for Ross Blacklock, a 2nd-round pick out of TCU, who has been a below replacement level player in the NFL.
Former Texan.
He also traded for former TCU wide receiver Jalen Reagor, who has been below replacement level in the NFL. And I tweeted out that he is buying the dip. And I had a number of people say, well, in order to have a dip, you need to have had a positive thing before. And both of these men have just been dog shit in the NFL. Now, the second part is actually right. They both, Reagor and Blacklock, have been terrible in the NFL. The difference is when you come into the NFL as a 1st or 2nd-round pick, you come in with that market, right? The market says what it says about you. And if you're a 1st-round pick or a 2nd-round pick, that prior imbues upon you a certain level of competence. That
there's athleticism, there's production,
there's production, there's what we should, if you are Jalen Reagor and you're picked at pick 20 in the NFL draft, you are coming in with a certain expectation. Have you met that expectation? No, but that expectation exists, and it is the product of numerous, not only historical averages and data, but also the market viewing you as such, right? If you didn't get taken by the Eagles at 21, you would have been taken by somebody else relatively close to that, right? And so people who are like, well, he sucks, so clearly he was a bad draft pick, that's a red flag, right? People who do not take the market, and this is true for sports betting, which is a big part of our show as well. People who do not take the market seriously, that is a red flag.
Saying that he's buying the dip, which he is, but like,
He is.
There's a difference between buying the dip on Apple and buying the dip on bird scooters.
Right, or like Shopify or something like this really bit of dip. But sure, but the Vikings can't afford Apple.
Yeah. Oh
right?
yeah, I get that.
They can afford Shopify. They can't afford Apple.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, agree with you. And the Blaylock one, like, whatever. I love the Rager one because Rager went into a team in Philadelphia that I wouldn't say gives like the best shot for a guy to overcome a tough start. Like, that's a shitty market to be in. And Jalen Hurts, for all the things we love about him, is not a guy, like, he's not a guy that's going to, I think, lift up a receiver, as opposed to, like, if a receiver's good, like, he will still manage to shine. I think that him in a role in that offense, the right role in that offense, could be interesting. It's definitely a gamble worth taking. Here's one of my favorite ones. I think this is my favorite. If your coach says this, run, speak. There's two. Okay. The first one is, we wanted to take the 3 points. We thought it was important to take the 3 points. That if you hear them talking about taking the 3 points by kicking a field goal, you are fucked. And the other one is, yeah, we were looking to keep getting to third and manageable, just trying to get it to third and manageable. That's a fallacy. That's bullshit. Third and manageable is worse than being 1st and 10. There's just no such thing. Third and short is worse than being 1st and 10 from an expectation of scoring points perspective. Those are two big red flags for me. Do you have any others before we pivot from my impromptu?
Yeah, like, so there's the whole, you don't get broke by taking a profit, right? That's a classic misunderstanding of expected points. Like, a 3-yard gain on 1st and 10 is actually gets you further away from scoring than obviously like a 4 or 5 yard gain. There's also
establish the run. We had to establish the
run's a big one, but also, hey, he's just taking what the defense gives him. Well, my brother in Christ, like, the defense gives you that because over time that has been shown to be okay to give to you, right? Like, Nick Mullins just taking what the defense gives him. It's like, yeah, that's why Nick Mullins can't win, because the defense is giving you things that you're supposed to take, because that's bait, right? Like the whole, the gift there, right? So those are two things that, like, I think are funny, right? But and granted, like, they're almost always said about crappy quarterbacks, but, like, taking what the defense gives you is not actually, like, a smart thing to do.
Yeah, set up the play action. Another good one. Okay, before we move on to some other great content, a quick.
By the way, the Reds just a privilege tonight. By the way,
what happened?
Well, you know how in baseball they give you the runner on second in extra innings. The Reds have somehow, in 3 extra innings, have given up 0 runs, but have then therefore in the last 3 innings have had a runner on second every single bottom of the 10th, 11th, and 12th innings, and have donked away an opportunity to win the game outright. And now we're to the top of the 13, tied 2-2.
You hate to see that. You hate to see that. There is football that is about to be played, and if you have yet to indulge yourself,
my friend Nick Wan, by the way, who runs analytics for the Reds, texted me just now and said, "I blame you all for this," as he got us tickets to the game tonight. I do blame us as well.
If you haven't heard by now, Underdog Fantasy is the best and easiest place to play fantasy football. Yes, you probably have some redraft league that you're doing with all your buddies. We all do as well. But if you want to prepare for that in probably the best way possible and have a shot at winning $2 million, go to Underdog Fantasy and play best ball, where you don't have to worry about your starts and sits and waiver wires and all that garbage, because the best players, the high scoring players on your team, automatically are entered into your lineup each week. So all you do is draft once, And then if you draft a good team, you could win millions of dollars. That's how it works. It's that simple. Go download the app or go to underdogfantasy.com. Use promo code PFF when you sign up. You get your first deposit doubled up to $100 when you use that promo code PFF. And if you play $10, you using promo code PFF, you are going to get a free PFF Plus subscription. So it's an awesome deal. Go to the App Store, make that $10 play with code PFF, and be on your way to a magical NFL season. You can use that PFF subscription, by the way, to better yourself in that draft and for the rest of the season with shrewd betting advice and all the other things that you need to be a successful football mind. I will also mention, if you're already on Underdog Fantasy and you can't take advantage of that offer, you can still get 25% off any PFF. And what do you mean any PFF? You can get 25% off PFF Plus, PFF Plus subscription, which gives you access to everything at PFF with promo code Forecast, FORECAST. That includes all of PFF's locked article, content and analysis, fantasy football rankings, projections, our draft experience, which got a humongous facelift this year. Had some new things added into it today, I might add, which you'll want to go check out. Some really cool data viz, data and grades for the entire season. And of course, all of our betting tools, player props, Green Line for both college and NFL betting dashboards are live. So go get that with 25% off. It is the best deal in sports. PFF.com and download now the PFF app. Alex Leatherwood, he was a first round pick. They cut him after a year. What's like everyone's just completely shitting all over the Raiders and very much so. They deserve it. This was all Mike Mayok and John Gruden. How much blame does Mike Mayok deserve? How much does John Gruden deserve?
No, it's actually a few. I mean, the current regime for the Raiders deserves about 25% of the blame. As our colleague and brilliant Timo Risky, who I got to meet in person for the first time this week in Cincinnati, has written about, like, offensive line is a position where the learning curve is steep. So the Raiders giving up on a young offensive lineman with decent draft capital is stupid. Like, I'm just gonna throw that out there. Good on the Bears for picking him up. A relatively cheap contract. You're not getting better potential out of any offensive lineman for 3 years and $6 million than the Bears got. The extra 75% is Mayok and Gruden. And Mayok and Gruden, this is another bit about the fact that, you know, the consensus big board, and whether you look at Arif Hassan's at The Athletic, or you look at, grinding the mocks with our friend Benjamin Robinson, whatever you do, drafting a guy a round above where everybody else has them is stupid. Like, this is like buying a stock at $10 more per share than its market prices. Like, the market price is the market price. And so I think that Josh McDaniel and company deserve a great deal of heat for what they've done, what they've turned their back on. I think believing they're good enough as 13-2 to win that freaking division, that they should be cutting offensive linemen because somehow there's something better there. They deserve some heat. And there are people in the NFL that have messaged me today that are saying, what the hell are the Raiders doing? The fact that Alex Leatherwood was on the Raiders with the pick that he was in, a top 20 pick, is all the fault of obviously Mayok and Gruden and their overconfidence.
It's interesting. So I had the same initial thought, but I have to guess that if Alex Leatherwood were decent, they were keeping him. Okay. Like, if he were decent, they were keeping him. You know what this tells me? That motherfucker is a train wreck, not just on the field, but everywhere. Like, that dude must not be able to write his name, to show up to practice on time, to do anything correctly, because your point is so correct. People are looking for offensive linemen left, right, and center. Everyone needs an offensive lineman. If you thought he was halfway decent, put him in a decent position to succeed for a game and then trade his ass. He's a first round pedigree. Now, no one else on planet Earth was taking him the first round. But if where should he have been drafted, Eric? Third round?
I mean, second round at the most, right?
So second, third round. Are you cutting a second or third rounder? No. If you're paying,
not if you're a functional franchise.
Not if you're a functional franchise. So this to me, and apparently they shopped him everywhere, and no one. Brad Spielberg had a great tweet because Rappaport said all 32 NFL teams said no, which means that the Raiders said no to themselves, which they in fact did because they cut him. But that tells me like there's some problems. So I don't want to go and blame McDaniels in that group yet. I also don't think it's fair to blame Mike Mayock. I just don't. I don't think Mike Mayock did the NFL Network draft coverage for however many years, right? Mike Mayock sat there and looked at the consensus analysis from everybody and called the draft, right? I don't think a guy like that is going to come in and go, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pick random motherfuckers no one wants to pick. Like when he saw that happen in the booth, he was going, well, no one's going to pick this guy. I blame Gruden entirely. Like Mike Mayock was powerless. He was getting paid so much less than John Gruden. He had no,
yeah, for sure. I mean,
I think this is like John Gruden's tenure with the Raiders. All of those draft picks, okay, freaking Cleveland Farrell's, at 4, Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Abram, Arnett, Damon Arnett, Henry Ruggs, like that whole thing, plus saying no to Tom Brady, supposedly for Derek Carr, and then also just kiboshing their season and getting being uncovered for being a complete loser. I think that's the worst. That head coaching tenure may be the worst and most destructive coaching tenure a coach has had. Like that's worse than Urban Meyer for a year.
Well, it shows the complexity of this situation because I actually think John Gruden did a great job with Derek Carr, right? Like
on the field as a play caller. Yeah. I'm talking about
average at the target and all that stuff. Like he unlocked Derek Carr. Like Derek Carr was on the precipice of being benched and being terrible and being awful. And he made Derek Carr into a decent quarterback. But to your point, and I think this is a universal truth that you're uncovering, which is except for Belichick and even Belichick, right? And this comes to my thesis. And I told you, a week ago, Wednesday, I said, safe space. I think the Patriots are going to be ass, but you can't do everything. Right. And there's a reason why general managers exist. There's a reason why head coaches exist. There's a reason why offensive play callers exist. And there's a reason why those men should often be 3 separate people. Because you can't be good at all these things. And Gruden, for as good as he was in unlocking Derek Carr, he was horrible at unlocking the draft. I mean, like you look at their first round picks. I mean, the Sloan Sports Analytics Conference made the Khalil Mack trade the move of the season, the move of the year for the Raiders. Mm-hmm. And they basically took every draft pick that came from that trade, which was a good trade for them, frankly. They were not competing. Khalil Mack was better off. Mm-hmm. He had more utility on another team. They took every pick from that trade and produced nothing from it. And that is John Gruden's fault. I mean, and that is, you put Mike Mayock on the, but ultimately in this league, there are evaluators and there are decision makers, and Gruden was the decision maker, and he deserves a great deal of the blame for this.
I would agree. Before we move on to the last segment of the podcast, DraftKings, it's here for you. NFL Week 1 action. An official sports betting partner of the NFL. Bet just $5 with promo code PFF and get $200 in free bets instantly. It's that easy. Just download the app, promo code PFF, bet $5, $200 in free bets instantaneously, and everyone gets the opportunity to experience this fantastic promotion. There's this promotion that I'm about to tell you. I can't read. It's late. If you bet on any team and they are up by 7, you win. That is an amazing promotion. They don't have to win. You get paid instantaneously. They just have to be up by 7. If the team ends up losing, doesn't matter. So go to DraftKings. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code PFF to get $200 in free bets instantly when you place a $5 bet on any football game. That's code PFF. Only at DraftKings, 21 plus in most eligible states, but ages vary by jurisdiction. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Terms and resources. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in Tennessee. Call or text the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789 in New York. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY or text your brother in Christ, Eric Eager. Hit him on Twitter. 1 per customer. Minimum
1-800-9 with it.
And wager $200. Get 8 free bets of $25 each. Also, Symbol, SIMBULL. They are creating a marketplace for trading teams, kind of like a stock market for teams. They were a wonderful sponsor of ours last year. You can trade pro and college teams like stocks and earn cash dividends and payouts when your team wins. And here's the deal. Use promo code Forecast, FORECAST, and receive a free team stock valued at up to $150 when you sign up. We have purchased shares of stock on Symbol in the past, and it's a real fun way to follow teams as you go through the season. So go over to Symbol on iOS by searching SIMBULL in the App Store and downloading the app today. All right. Before we get out of here, this is the last podcast that we are going to do before we get to the college football season. Week 0, it is upon us. The blessed, wonderful, fantastic time of the year where quarterbacks that have no idea what they're doing, coaches who have no clue what's going on, teams that are just completely oblivious go out and play just sensational football. And you can profit off it. You can go to PFF.com right now, get yourself a PFF Plus subscription and get access to our betting dashboards for all of the FBS and spread, money line, and total. You see all the cash and ticket splits, and of course our model outputs as well. How are you preparing for week 0? What is the doctor going to be investing in?
Yeah, the good doctor. Okay, so when most people listen to this, so this is Thursday. We have 6 games that include FBS teams. By the way, George, I was on my flight to Vegas on Friday working on an FCS model because we've had FCS grades for a couple of years, and I wanted to bet a game or two in that realm. But we have a couple edges there. You look at the West Virginia Mountaineers against the Pitt Panthers. The Pitt Panthers' new quarterback. I kind of like West Virginia plus 7.5. That's one, looking at underdogs that are going to be live. Remember, college football, and George and I have done, I think, a really good job of talking about the difference between college and pro, but also looking at the difference between numbers. Remember, in college football, the numbers matter less than they do in the NFL. So if you're going to go bet Las Vegas Raiders at 3 plus 3.5, because the Los Angeles Raiders used to have fans in Los Angeles and blah, blah, blah. And, the third point means 9%. It means about 4 or 5% in college football. So if you were going to bet an underdog, let's say Penn State against Purdue on Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, bet Purdue plus 143. Don't bet them plus 3.5. They're trade variance 4 points when you bet underdogs in college football. There's a couple others that I really like in that realm. This week, I like the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. They're facing the Army Black Knights. Coastal is -2. Just lay minus 132, right? Just lay minus 132 if you're going to bet the Chants. They win by 1 or 2, you end up happy. Another one that I really like as well, the North Texas Mean Green against the SMU Mustangs. UNT is getting 11. Just bet plus 303. Just let them win on the money line there. Those 11 points are not worth necessarily as much as you believe they are, and they would be in the NFL. That is my sort of thesis for this week: is if you like underdogs, bet them on the money line, and take the good with the bad. There might be a week where you lose some money because none of those end up winning outright, but there's going to be weeks where you get a couple plus 300, a couple plus 200 price pops, and you end up winning a decent amount of coin that week.
Okay. You mentioned a lot of good ones. I am riding with your wisdom there, and I'm going to take the Old Dominion. What is the Old Dominion? Old Dominion University. What is their mascot?
ODU. Look, man, these are things where this is kind of how I'm a little bit of a sharp in college football. I don't know the team name. The Monarchs getting 7.5 against the Virginia Tech
Hokies. The brethren in Christ. And I'm taking them.
Of course.
I'm taking them plus 238 to win. They have a better power rating, PFF power rating for defense and offense than Virginia Tech. And they have a higher graded quarterback who like better big time throw rate, going to regress positively from a clean pocket as well. I don't even know the name. I'm just looking at their data points. I don't need to know the name. I don't need that.
I actually think after doing a year's worth of live college football live shows with Anthony Tresh, you're better off not knowing the names.
Yes, it's a good point. It's a very good point. So Old Dominion, I'm rolling with them. I might even watch this game. It's tomorrow. Not tomorrow, Friday.
It's Friday, but Friday feels like tomorrow. It's 11:30. So you're close.
We're getting there. This was our podcast. We appreciate all of you hanging out. Share the podcast if you enjoyed it. If you didn't, share it anyways. Give us a little review on Apple. It helps us get out there and spread the word about the PFF forecast for this season. Obviously, we're going to be talking about betting every single week. If you're new to this show, every Sunday night, our brethren in Christ, I'm trying to use the phrase more, Eric and I, after Sunday Night Football, guess the lines for each NFL game the following week. It gives you a great sense of where to bet early. It's a lot of fun. It's a great Monday morning listen for everybody, or if you're on the West Coast, a late night listen, or if you're a savage on the East Coast, late night listen as well. And it's going to be a great and fun year. So thank you guys for hanging out. We love you. We'll talk to you on Sunday. Peace.